Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Hightown, Season 3, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So it's basically been a month in between last episode and this episode, and now we kind of see where things are kind of picking up. In particular, we start off with Jackie. We see she's good. Like, there's so many moments in this episode where Jackie's smiling, where I'm like, oh, I feel it, because I'm scared and I'm nervous, because history has shown time and time again, and that ends up being this conversation time and time again with her, where it's like Ed kind of has his concerns, obviously Ray has his concerns about, like, right, she's going to potentially relapse. I mean, that's any addict, that's always going to be a concern. And then once again, I always think back to it. I want to say someone had commented maybe on season 2's finale that they hated that was a part of Jackie's story, but I'm like, it's so realistic that it's like, it's not going to be like they didn't like the cycle repeating itself. But I'm like, that's Jackie's cycle. Once again, she never got to the root of things. She never, like, really prepared herself properly. She always used one thing after another to kind of, like, resolve her issues, but she wasn't really resolving them. She was just, like, covering them up with a Band-Aid rather than actually, like, disinfecting the wound in a metaphorical sense, right? So that's why I think it's so fascinating, but you're always scared, like, yeah, she might fall back, and that is a potentiality. That is something that could end up happening. It might not be all sunshine and rainbows when it's all said and done for Jackie. We'll ultimately have to wait to see how the series comes to an end. But either way, she's talking to the therapist, and it ends up being this thing of, obviously she's listing off the stuff, like, yeah, her dad's addiction and stuff with her mom. But then it's like, okay, it kind of ends up being this conversation about, why do you have this this hero complex? You know, I don't just want to help someone doesn't mean that I have to be a hero or whatever. And it's like, well, why do you want to help people? Like what are you getting out of it? And for her, it's like, she wants to be able to help someone. And she brings up Krista, she brings up Junior, and she brings up Veronica. It's like, well, how did that work out? It's like, well, Krista and Junior are dead, and I'm the one that actually hurt Veronica. So it was kind of putting things in perspective for her, because she does have a hero complex. She has tried to, like, play over and over again, like, it's up to her to save people. Because basically the therapist was kind of like coming at it from the perspective of, you need to, like, you don't have to take on everyone else's shit. You can, like, just handle your own lane of things. You don't have to just incorporate other people's stuff. You know, it's kind of, once again, getting to, like, the root of it and understanding. Because she had to list off, like, all the bad things or whatever, which was kind of hard. But what we saw was Jackie putting in the work. She would, like, obviously we saw it in the past too, like, she sometimes would brush stuff off, but she'd be so quick to be like, no, I'm good, I'm okay. But she recognizes she's not okay, but she's like, okay, but I'm gonna do what I put into work. I've hit rock bottom, and I realize, like, how bad things can get. I even love that conversation where she had with Ray. He was like, oh, I know I'm supposed to say this, but I'm not going. She's like, no, tell me, like, how does my drinking affect you? It's like, well, you kind of screwed the pooch. You kind of left me high and dry with Shane and Owen. There was another aspect, and then he also says, finally, he's like, you worried me, okay? Like, you worried me. And it's like, it's really sweet, because it's like, yeah, like, in his own, like, Ray does care about Jackie. Like, you know, he can be a very self-indulgent in a lot of ways. Like, once again, a lot of the parallels between Jackie and Ray are there. Like, there is a lot of overlap between their self-destructive behaviors. But I think on some, like, he legitimately, genuinely cares about Jackie, and their moments together are really sweet and nice, like in the past seasons, like, you know, whether it's season 1 or whether it's season 2. But even this moment, it was such a beautiful, genuine moment of, hey, like, she's like, I got so wrapped up, you know, no longer obsessed stuff, but the Fallbrook stuff, I do believe there's something there, but I'm going to handle it by the book. Anything investigating I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure we go about it the right way. When I go back to work, I'm 100% yours. Like, you got me on this, like, Shane and Owen case. And he's like, all right, I'll see you there, bet. And she gets out. And obviously the day she gets out, she goes back to work, which Egg's worried about. But she's like, no, it's going to be okay. She's like, I know I've made this promise before that work's going to help me. But she's like, no, things feel different this time. It's going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay. So it does seem like it. Like, she goes and helps out with the Sarah, you know, because Sarah's undercover looking for Owen. So she's in a bar. Some old work of hers. What's the place called? Limerick. It's a place she's, you know, done some damage at before, but all we see is her a club. So, like, she's good. She has the tools necessary. She isn't jonesing. She's able to kind of keep her cool and calm. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this. Like, especially we don't have that much time for them to send her down her spiral. But, like, the Veronica stuff from last episode really fucked her up. So it was the most eye-opening thing for her. She even had that moment with Alan. She'd even approached Alan about the Fallbrook stuff of like, yeah, I do think there's something there. You know, Swayze's still out there. I do believe he is hurting people. So, and she specifically wants to talk to that cop. Because Alan was like, yeah, that cop was saying we can't really do much. This is going to go back to the point I brought up. I think that was episode 3 when she was hanging out with Emma. The cop they ran into. I said it since I was like, I think that cop's the one that's been killing some sex workers. I think it was him. Because it also makes sense. He'd be the person that Swayze be the most scared of, because it's like, hey, this is a guy who can legally kill you and get away with it. I mean, he's a cop. He could frame you and, you know, create whatever narrative he needs to clean his side of the street. So I think it's him. Because that might be the same cop Alan was referring to, where it's like, oh yeah, like there's not enough to hold Swayze and stuff like that. Once again, whoever it is someone that Swayze is like, no, you're not going to put that murder on me, the one that Jackie revisited this episode, but she had learned about previously. But either way, I thought that's where my mindset is with all of that. Which we do see Jackie once again taking things in stride. Like, she does show up again and talks to that particular lady, like, hey, like, you were right. I did only care about some white girl that was missing. Now I'm here to look into what you brought up before. It's like, can you tell me about her? It's like, well, she never like got in anyone's face or anybody, so like she never took anyone's spot. She was just kind of a good girl, just making do. When someone got beat up, she took them to the hospital, made sure they had enough money to take care of themselves in case they're like significant, I don't know if it was like a pimp situation or significant other doesn't beat them up. It's like, that's who she was, and how she died seemed pretty messed up. I guess like the reports that Jackie was reading previously never really covered too much about her death, but the lady was kind of referencing like, yeah, it seemed like she didn't deserve that. It sounded brutal, but we don't have the context for it. She does kind of walk, when Jackie walks away, she's like, oh, here you are trying to save a hoe, trying to save the day type of thing, which, you know, Jackie is coming to terms with that mentality, but it's like, no, this is my job. I want to help someone who's falling through the cracks where no one's really looking. There's something definitely here. I do have the instincts. I am picking up something here. This ain't me trying to save the day. This is me just doing my job. And I'm trying to do it right, and I'm trying to do it properly. And she kept her promise to Ed, and she went to a meeting that night, and she got her sponsor. And you're like, yes! Like I said, things could always take a turn, but we don't have enough episodes for it to feel like it'll take a turn. So I think Jackie's on the up and up. I hope everything works out for Jackie. And once again, it's going to be something she's going to struggle with for the rest of her life. But I think she's better equipped now. And everything she's been through over the course of this show, and now she's better equipped, more understanding of herself and everything that she's feeling and that she's dealing with. Like, she has a better understanding all around. I think that has equipped her with what's necessary to fight her addictions in a way that she's never like been equipped to deal with them previously. So we have that whole lane of things. Really quickly, let's circle back around to the Sarah of it all, which she obviously, I love that Fitzy was like ignoring her, because like Owen, after everything went down with Osito, who's still alive, he's kind of been out there at sea, kind of like avoiding being on land, because it's like easiest way to hide out on a boat. But he kind of got a little stir crazy, so he's coming back, but he's still sticking to the shadows because he knows he can't pop up because he's number one suspect. Because we find out it wasn't just Osito, and it wasn't just Owen's right hand guy Red, it was also a regular civilian got killed in the process, so it brings even more heat down. Like, I think if it was one thing, if it was just Osito and Red, that's one thing, but because a civilian got involved, there's going to be way more heat brought onto the situation. What was that line that Sarah said to Fitzy once they called up to him? He's selling drugs. She's like, I will stick my hand so far up your ass, I will use your penis as a sock puppet. He's like, wow, that's very vivid. But yeah, they ended up getting him to like take Sarah to Red's like wake or whatever, the little memorial gathering for him. And so she got in contact with Tommy, who was trying to who's in the process of hooking her up with Owen. So kind of getting back in contact with him. Obviously, we kind of have like Ray's kind of in the middle of a lot, because the big thing this episode is Frankie got out. We didn't really get Jackie's perspective on it, so I'm like, does Jackie not know about Frankie? Because we didn't, like, Jackie didn't talk about that at all, so it almost makes me feel like no one informed her. I almost expected her to find out from Alan, and Alan's like, wait, Ray didn't tell you? So that's what I thought, but it didn't come up at all this episode. You'd think, out of anyone, she was the most motivated to take down, like, Frankie for the past 2 seasons, so... I mean, just as much as like Ray and Alan were, but she didn't bring anything up. So I'm like, I mean, it didn't get brought up to her. So I'm curious what's up with that. Maybe she does know and she's just tackling all of this now. She's not trying to get sidetracked, which I mean, obviously Alan and Ray are, well, Alan's got all his focus on this. Ray's got the whole Shane and Owen of it all. So, but yeah, your boy Frankie gets out, but he made sure before he got out that Vernon got what was his. Still unclear whether or not he's dead or not. He got shanked. It sounds pretty bad. I'm not clear when Osito's right-hand dude was like, yo, Vernon, what happened to him? I'm like, but I don't know if that was a clear indication of, oh, he's dead. I mean, Frankie got stabbed 8 times, yet he still managed to survive. So I could see Frankie wanting poetic justice to be like, oh, you ridiculed me for my piss bag? Now you're going to have one too. Like, it feels more like, no, I'm not going to, I want you to survive so you can, like, be in my situation so you can feel humiliated and small. Like, you know, Frankie's petty like that. Which obviously, like, he gets released. He's got Rachel, which he ain't really paying her. She's like, ooh, let's get out of here. Let's go to this rest area. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm tired. It's like, yeah. I don't know what you thought this situation was going to be. Because it's like, you expected you to be his Renee. It's like, Renee was his Renee, and you'll never be that in his eyes. But also, like, after everything Frankie's gone through, I think there's some level of feeling emasculated, you know, and, like, feeling like, quote-unquote, less of a man. I think... based on near the ending of this episode with him and Rachel, I kind of feel like that's the case. Especially the way he pops up on Rachel when he's like, when I tell you to do something, do it. Makes sense, too, because things were kind of like that with Renee. I was literally about to call Renee by her real name, the actress Riley. I was about to say Riley, but I was like, no, that's her real name. Renee, what I was about to say is like, Renee kind of did what you told her to, but also she kind of broke away from you and kind of stabbed you in the back the way she did, in kind of a multitude of ways, not only in season 1, but she definitely stuck it to you last season. So I think he wants to basically, I think it's his feeling emasculated, but also wanting to take control of never letting someone ever get power over him again, like Renee did, and kind of being able to, like, rope-a-dope him the way she did. So I think that's why he's kind of doing what he's doing to Rachel, because it's like, yo, don't think you're something special. When I tell you to do something, you do it. I told you to stay in the car, you didn't listen, did you? That's your problem. Like, you know, Frankie's already got an attitude and an anger issue on top of that, but I think there's layers to why he was acting that way. But later on, Rachel's like, nah, like, you think that makes you weak or whatever, but she's like, I'm gonna show you how strong you are, and proceeds to give him dome, and you're like, wow. Okay. Like I said, I think it really does come down to he felt like less than a man because of the bag and everything, and just, you know, like, I think that's why he was lashing out. Because he's trying to also put up a strong front in everybody. He's got good dealings with Shane and Owen now. Granted, he hasn't met Owen. I'm curious if that's going to be a situation. I mean, Owen's kind of a fuck up, and, I mean, they had that whole conversation about, yeah, Osito's still alive because he screwed up. So, I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens when Frankie and Owen do eventually meet. I would assume you wouldn't do anything to him because, you know, Shane. Not unless he ends up trying... I was about to say, like, would he be able to... Not unless he plans on manipulating Owen and Shane to go after each other, and then, like, who's ever remaining, like, you play both sides and then you sweep in and take everything. I don't know if that's the ultimate plan or not. It would make sense because Frankie would be the type of, yeah, I'm going to run things. I'm going to get back everything I lost. Osito's on the bench now because of everything that happened. And at least from Owen's perspective, he's not coming back. We'll see. But he kind of, you know, Frankie's the type that's like, I'm going to take what's mine. And it isn't just about the Shane and Owen thing. It's about the Renee thing. It's like, I'm going to get you back. Because it's also like, not only did you screw me over, you killed my cousin. And so I'm also going to get you payback for that. It's like, oh, Ray can't protect you. Because, you know, they're also not in a good place. Because it's like, right. Because of Renee's actions of taking Jorge's bag. Like now, like, and you let some stranger come into our house. Rachel stole the bag. It ended up, you know, it all paid for the hit against Chuleta, and it's like, right, they have nothing to hold Frankie now. Chuleta was their entire case, and without him, like, they're screwed. So he's out and about. Renee's obviously scared because it's like, yo, I screwed him over. Also, I having this, not perfect, but I'm here with you, my cop boyfriend, who is also the person I kind of cheated on him with you. It's like Frankie has all the reasons, and even Ray was like, do you have any other reason why? And she's like, what other reason do I need, Ray? It's like, for Frankie to come after. It's like he was trying to get it out of her about the whole Jorge thing, because that's why I was trying to remember. I was like, but like based on like the recap we had gotten at the beginning of the season, I was like, yeah, he knows because Frankie said so, but he's never questioned Renee about it. I don't know if it's a plausible deniability of, hey, as long like Frankie's just like spewing bullshit. There's nothing true to that. But like the fact is, in all this time, he never broached a question to her. It's only because this moment of Frankie's out, like, would he have even more motivation to come after you? Like, to look past me or any cops circling you, that he would still try and come after you. It's like, screwing him over is one thing. Killing Jorge adds, like, it's the final nail in the coffin in a lot of ways. But yeah, he showed up at Xavier's. I was curious, like, I guess Donna might not have been there at the time. Like, I just think it's interesting that she wasn't there at the time, so how she would have reacted to that whole situation. But yeah, later on, Renee shows up and talks to Ray, and obviously it's like he was ignoring her, which I'm like, oh, you're picking the worst time to ignore her, considering she's calling you because Frankie showed up at work. Then she also had Alan rolling up, because Alan went to go talk to Frankie, and the moment it's like, oh, I know you killed Jorge, it's kind of messed up, you killed your own cousin, but it's like, and he referenced Renee, and he was like, oh, that's funny. And it's like, what's so funny? It's like, oh, Ray didn't tell you? I told Ray that Renee's the one that killed Jorge. I think it's so interesting he didn't tell you. So he ends up confronting Renee, which for a second she went and pulled out the gat and blasted, and I was like, no way, no shot she just did that, because for one, that's going to make things worse. First and foremost, you doing that would mean that Ray would throw you to the wolves given the opportunity. If he finds out you smoked Alan, yeah, you have beef, but it's like killing a piece of shit like Jorge, which I say that, as like, oh, the character of Jorge, because he's a criminal, he's a piece of shit just like Frankie is. But like, that's one thing. It's, you shouldn't have done it. That's, murder is murder. But it's like different from just killing a cop. Like, she felt cornered, and it's like, you're asking me these questions, you're getting nervous. He's bringing up, oh, one of the cleaning ladies that you had dispose of Jorge's body and clean up the crime scene for you, blasting him. I'm like, there's no way. It kind of kept going on a little longer. I was like, she's dragging him outside. I was like, is this real? And then we snapped back to reality, and it's like, it wasn't. I was like, good thing you didn't do that, because I was about to say that might be one of the most like short-sighted, dumbest things you might have ever been able to do, Renee. Once again, the Jorge thing was a complete and utter accident. But yeah, she talks to Ray and confesses everything. Because like the moment she met Sarah, it's like, oh, I know you, Ray. You're probably fucking her, aren't you? And it's like, he tries to deny it, but it was a moment of truth between them. Like, a lot of stuff came out. She's like, right, I was selling drugs. Out of Xavier's, I was using that money I'd stolen from Jorge after I accidentally killed him. And she spilled everything. And she's like, I'm sorry. Because he had kind of chewed her out. Because it's like, if you had told me the truth from the beginning, like, you didn't tell me about Jorge's money. You also didn't tell me about you going back to Xavier. It's like, I should have known that. But she's like, when would I have been able to talk to you, Ray? You were always at work. There was never any time for me. And it's like, no, if you wanted to, you would have made time. It's like, you told me some important shit like that, I would have made time. It's kind of that situation. It's like, you chose not to. So, you trying to run this game of, like, trying to get back into drugs. Like, I figured it would blow up in your face. Wasn't expecting everything to blow up the way it did. So, I mean, granted, it didn't blow up in your face. It's more like, shit hit the fan. You kind of got screwed over and blindsided by Frankie through Rachel. So, but yeah, ends up confessing everything, and Ray ends up saying, like, right, I have fucked Sarah. I've been fucking her. And it's like, at first I thought it was like, because it did happen after the whole Renee situation last episode, after the reveal of, oh, like, the money, like, he was already vibing and feeling it anyway. He had acted upon it directly until after the Renee situation blew up last episode, but he recognizes, like, I wanted to make it seem like it was about me being mad at you for lying, but it's like, no, I can recognize it had nothing to do with it. It's like, yeah, it's just Ray, like his issues, and he apologizes, and they both make out. And she's like, can you ever, like, I love you. Could you ever find yourself loving me? He's like, I love you too, you know? So it's kind of like, you kind of look at it a little sideways because you're almost like, we know Renee is good at the crocodile tears, so that could have either been her playing Ray. Like, I want to believe there's some sincerity. For the most part, I do. But there was a small percentage of me like, I feel like she's playing you because she needs you to protect her against Alan. Like, if you, I mean, once again, you have a baby together too, so it's like you do have a family, so he is going to protect that family, but you needed that extra nudge, especially considering they're not in a good place right now. She needs him to, like, that's what she kind of needed right before in that way. Like, especially last season, but now you need it even more so with Frankie coming after you. You also got Alan coming after you, so you kind of need all your defenses lined up. Because she'd even kind of thrown it out there before about Ray. It's like, she's like, I want you to take care of Frankie. Like, so I could easily see Ray killing Frankie. And like I said, this could, like, blow everything up. Like, Ray gets arrested and Renee gets to walk away. I don't know. Because Frankie did say that line of basically, like, yeah, you in the future you are going to get hurt, whether it's me or whether it's the cops, which once again both of them came after her this episode. So I mean, not after, but they kind of staked their ground. Like, Alan's playing coy, but she knows Alan knows, and Frankie made his point perfectly clear. So like I said, there's just a small percentage of me that's like, I think Renee's lying. I think she's doing the crocodile tears thing and manipulating Ray and to kind of be like, no, I'm gonna hold it down. I've got you, babe. I'm very ride or die with this situation. So we'll see how that all plays out. As I was talking about the Big O himself beforehand, life hadn't been great for him. Lost his well, I don't know if his eye is ever in a position to ever be recovered. It might be permanently fucked up forever. But his like right hand dude is 10 toes down. Even made it clear, like, yo, I ain't in this for like pussy and gold chains. Like, I came into this to, you know, get my, like, whatever it is. I ain't running away tail tucked between my legs. I'm gonna see this through. It's like, yo, that's a ride or die, homie. Being like, nah, I'm in this game. Like, I knew what it risk is, because he was like, yo, if shit really hits the fan, you can bounce out. But it's like, no, I ain't doing that. I got you. So it's because Osito's got, you know, he's got to make decisions. Like, Janelle shows up and it's like, right, seeing him shot like that scared her, but she can't do this. You know, it's like, right, let's kind of leave and bounce. And Osito's like, I wish I could say that for you, but me being who I am, I will always be looking over my shoulder. Because even if I leave all this behind for whatever reason, this is always going to follow me, and it would in turn follow you. I mean, that's how this shit happened last episode too. But I think it also applies to the element of, even if I go with you, I'm going to get mixed up in some new game situation, and we'll kind of be repeating a cycle anyway. So sadly, they end up breaking up. But, you know, you're kind of walking away with nothing. Your business is in shambles. You lost an eye. Frankie is out, so you got to be mindful of him. Plus, you got smoking heat with Owen and Shane, and they can't really finish their job right now. Frankie might be more of in a position to do it, but they got eyes on Frankie, so he can't make any necessary moves, but they can't really track him like they want to. They've got eyes on Owen and Shane, well, in a sense, so that's a little bit of a difference, but yeah. He gets a postcard from Tampa. I'm like, who the fuck is sending him a postcard from Tampa? He rolls on down, well, flies down to Tampa, and lo and behold, it's Charmaine. So I'm like, okay, so I don't know if that's supposed to be like, hey, this is Osito's exit from the show. I don't think it is. I think it's more, because I'm about to say, like, is this going to be his ending here? But it's most likely, no, Charmaine's going to be his new connect, because they were trying to figure out the drug situation. So Charmaine's handling things from the Tampa side and probably hooked him back up to, like, handle stuff in Hightown. So I think, or isn't it? It's not, because the town is actually like P-Town, isn't it? Maybe, I don't know. So I think that might be where Osito's story goes. I don't know. I'm just unclear, like, who's going to live in this season. I could see a lot of these characters, not even just the bad guys, not even just Frankie or Osito. I don't think Shane or Owen are making it out of this, but, like, I get the feeling like it could be a flip of the coin. Not even flip of the coin. I'm pretty sure Frankie's going to be killed at the end of the season. Osito might skate by. He just always manages to find his way through. So that might be the case. Or he might get clapped. I could see maybe Ray getting clapped. I don't know. it feels like this could have like a wild, depressing ending where like there's a lot of people that I even feel like, yo, shit, like really hits a fan. I think even Sarah could end up getting clapped. So I have no idea how this is all gonna ultimately end up playing out. Obviously, I'm getting to this episode quite late. It's Friday at the time you're recording this. This should be going up tomorrow. But obviously, episode 6 dropped, the penultimate episode. So this is going to be setting the stage for what the finale's got in store for us. So like how this all goes to the penultimate episode, what that sets up for the series finale, it's going to be so interesting to see what happens next and how this all plays out. But really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.